Good evening and welcome back to the Andy Holding Speed Figures YouTube channel. Andy Bate here with Andy Holding this evening. We're going to have a quick canter through the Dublin Racing Festival. We'll kick off straight away, Andy, with a feature race on the Saturday in Conflated. Good performance.
Wasn't it? I mean, he looked good the time he fought Navan in a handicap, but we weren't expecting quite what he did over the weekend, winning a Grade 1 and winning it in pretty handsome fashion as well, didn't he? Picked it up 2 out. Davey committed him and he answered every call all the way to the line. Kept the distance that he built up off the home turn over Minella Indo and Janadil. Try as they might, they got nowhere near him. So it looks fairly strong form. Don't think there's any fluke about it. The time figure suggests that. So he's definitely now thrown his hat into the ring with regard to Gold Cup, hasn't he? Alongside Galvin from the same stable.
Yeah, I guess he'll probably have the disadvantage of he won't have Davy Russell on board for the Gold Cup. If they go there, he'd be more likely to ride Galvin, would you have thought?
That's the way, yeah. I think you're probably right, Andy. Yeah, he's had a long association, hasn't he, with Galvin? He knows him inside out. It's hard to get off a horse who's second favourite to ride a horse who's probably double-figure quoted, but whoever gets the ride, I'm sure they'll have a great spin. He just looks a horse in really good form. And you know, regards to Minella Indo, you know, he's not totally dead in the water either. You could argue that his performance at Leopardstown over the weekend was just as good as the one the previous year before he went on to win the Gold Cup.
Yeah, absolutely. His Gold Cup challenge was in tatters even this time last year, really, wasn't it? It wasn't until, you know, kind of Henry de Bromhead was having all the winners at the festival itself that you thought, oh, hang on a minute, Minella could be a player here. But he certainly ran a lot better on Saturday than he did the previous year.
Yeah, and of course we know he always comes alive at Cheltenham and given good ground again in March. Then he's not one to sort of dismiss out of hand for sure.
No. The other notable chase on the card, Blue Lord. I was quite perplexed, as I said to you earlier, about the way that this race shaped up from a time point of view with the overall. The overall compared to the circuit, I would have imagined it would have been a little bit quicker, but it is what it is, and you know, kind of like we trust the figures. But I did think that that it was a good performance from Blue Lord, as it was Riviere d'Etel and from Saint Sam as well.
Yeah, I think you can mark all three up in their own little individual way. I think Saint Sam improved upon his debut success in the beginners. Obviously, he's gone from that to a Grade 1. You know, he's only got beat 4 lengths, having set a strong gallop. He kept on quite willingly after getting headed, so you'd have to say that was a career high from him. But Blue Lord was slightly fortuitous in obviously the mistake that Riviere d'Etel made at costly time at the last was ultimately a mistake that was unrecoverable. But she did rally and get within hailing distance of Blue Lord to suggest if perhaps next time they met there might be a different result. But you know, Blue Lord jumped the fences cleaner. He certainly when he needed to. Anyway, he made a couple of mistakes down the back, but when the pace was on, the heat was on, he was good. I think he's probably got to perhaps improve again. Whereas we know Riviere d'Etel has already got a couple of nice credits in the bank, courtesy of a good run behind Fernie Hollow and a fast time, plus that 80 time figure that we've got at Navan. I actually think the faster they go in the Arkle will suit her even more. So. Still of the opinion, I don't know about you, Andy, that she's probably the one to beat in the Arkle, even though the betting suggests otherwise. They've still got Blue Lord in as favourite.
Yeah, I actually summed the race up with my field piece, Andy, by saying that I was fairly convinced that the Arkle when it was in the field, but I wasn't convinced that Blue Lord would hold either Riviere d'Etel or Saint Sam. I mean, when I watched the race back, Saint Sam made a mistake of his own at the second last as well, which stopped him dead in his tracks. And at that stage of the race, you wouldn't have expected him to have finished so close. So, you know, as you said, a really creditable effort. And he'll be off out in front in similar fashion, I would have thought, in the Arkle. And if he gets to those 2 fences in the straight with a similar amount left in the tank, he might take some pegging back.
Yeah, it's going to be a fascinating rematch, isn't it? Like I say, you could make cases out for all three, depending on how you read the race. And the thing is, you know, none of them have been over the fences at Cheltenham, have they? We've had Blue Lord run at the festival course last year when he fell at the last in the Supreme, but and Riviere d'Etel was down the field in the Boodles, but none of them have gone over the fences. So at Cheltenham, so everything will be new to them. But it's going to be fascinating. And, you know, he took in
Saint
English.
Sam was second, wasn't he, in the Boodles?
He was in second in the Boodles as well. But no, it's going to be a great rematch between all three. Looking forward to that race.
Yeah, quite funny how when Fernie Hollow was still in the anti-post market, the race was almost kind of like signed, sealed and delivered and off to Close Sutton. But now there seems plenty of juice back in the race. Yeah,
very much so, Andy. Yeah, it looked a race that we're already, you know, chiseling the name Fernie Hollow on the trophy. But yeah, I think we've all got to take another view, and I think it'll be a good betting race on the day. So yeah, that's one that along with the Supreme looks like one of the races of the first day for sure.
Yes. Moving on swiftly to another Willie Mullins Grade 1 winner in Vauban, who clocked the fastest juvenile time that we've recorded this year. And I thought that in a race where he was trapped out wide, he did really well to get onto the coattails of Theodore. But then when he quickened away from him, I thought he was really impressive.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, in hindsight, a couple of bets that we've had in this race have not worked out as well. The theory was right, trying to get the winner of either the one at Cheltenham or perhaps the Spring Juvenile, the two best trials, was the right strategy. It was just unfortunately getting the wrong horse in either race. Obviously, Asio was fell foul of perhaps Paul Nicholls' horse who's not been in good form, and Ben Segal just ultimately wasn't good enough. But Vauban certainly is, as you say, top figure with a 71, and you know that supersedes anything that Calixios did prior to going to win last year. So it's a above average time figure, and he sets a really good standard. I'm surprised he's not favourite over Pied Piper, on the basis that he probably might have beaten Pied Piper the first day at Punchestown. So technically he's a moral winner of 2 out of 2. I think he improved the most out of the two horses in their respective races after Punchestown, and you know he's won a Grade 1 in a faster time. So, and I think he beat a deeper field as well. You know, the likes of Phil, the other Mullins pair, and you know, Icar Prince and Ben Segal all brought good solid time figures and good profiles to the race, and he absolutely battered them, didn't he? And he did a good circuit time as well. It was much quicker than you know the handicaps in the first race. So everything about that Spring Juvenile, as per usual, looks absolutely bang on with regards to Triumph Hurdle.
Yeah, I guess maybe we'll learn our lesson, and next year we'll just we'll temper the early betting until we get to the Dublin Racing Festival.
We're always learning, aren't we? Even you know,
every day.
I've been in the game betting for 30 years and still make some glaring errors, and I fully admit that I got that wrong. But hopefully we can get a bit back on the date itself if we get a nice price about Vauban.
Vauban, yeah. Willie opened the card as well with another Grade 1 winner. It seemed to be the Willie Mullins domination as Dublin Racing Festival come and Punchestown, and Manella Kakuna. I almost got that wrong as Jerry was struggling with on Saturday during the commentary, but pretty much an all-the-way win, and I thought his jumping was fantastic.
Yeah, dictated a really decent pace throughout, nice even fractions. The time figures suggest he got it just about right. The 68's more than respectable for a 2 mile 6 race. And, you know, he beat the rest fair and square. He was pulling further clear as he went to the line. Looks a strong stayer. You'd imagine the Albert Barley will be his race.
Yeah.
And he just looks, you know, a tough, solid galloping type. He beat 2 horses with solid form lines, particularly Hollow Games, who represented the Lawlers of Naas form. I didn't think he did his chances too much harm either with regards to him being a viable contender for that race, Hollow Games. But you know, on the running at Leopardstown, he has got a bit to find with the winner, clearly.
Yes, yeah. I thought the second came home quite well, didn't he, Manella Crooner? I thought he made a bad mistake at the second last, but that seems to be him at the moment, doesn't it? You know, kind of he threw a couple of bad ones in the over Christmas at Leopardstown as well. He might be suited by the less jumping in the last half mile at Cheltenham. He's certainly a strong stayer, and I personally wouldn't rule him out as well.
No, good point you raised there, Andy. And of course, he can only keep improving, can't he? Because he's fairly lightly raced, a few mileage, and he's definitely in the mix. The Albert Barley, it's probably a race that, of all the sort of Grade 1s, it's probably the most wide open. It's the one I haven't got a particularly strong view on at the moment. Still waiting for something to come along and really wow me in that category.
Yeah.
This is probably the pick of them at the moment, but I'm still going to hang fire until the date's off. Perhaps one or two might come along in between now and Cheltenham to throw their cap in the ring.
Yeah, it's a dangerous game to start thinking that Willie Mullins hasn't got left something else to run. I mean, we highlighted a horse of his from Nace last week that he was talking up as an Albert Bartlett horse as well. So wait till Willie declares his hand and then make your selection from there.
Yeah, absolutely, Andy. We've all become accustomed to playing the waiting game along with Willie, and it's just no point second guessing the guy, particularly when it comes to these Grade Ones.
No,
I don't think he probably even knows when he goes to sleep on a Tuesday night what he's going to run in the upper pocket.
The one thing we can guarantee though is Facile Vega's definitely going to go to the champion bumper.
Yeah, I wouldn't quite go as far to say we'll definitely win it, but he certainly holds all the cards, doesn't he? I mean, he's looked spectacular, hasn't he? Not only Saturday, but prior to that when he beat a good field. You know, the form already looked good going into Saturday's race, and he confirmed it. And he beat and really burst the bubbles of several high-profile, well-regarded types. You know, connections of the second, third, fourth. Their dreams must be in total disarray and tatters, mustn't it? After Saturday, thinking,
Yes.
goodness me, we're not going to run against that thing again. And I'd imagine one or two of the UK horses are thinking, well, we're looking already towards the Aintree bumper. I think we could get a small field in the champion bumper because we've got American Mike to throw his cap into the ring as well. They look two stellar horses, well above normal average. But yeah, Facile Vega looks the best of the pile, doesn't he? So it's going to take a very good one to beat him if he's in anywhere near the same kind of form.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Moving on to the Sunday, the First Lady of Irish Racing. Take your pick, whether it's Rachel Blackmore or Honeysuckle, but just did everything that she needed to do again. It wasn't a really good time in terms of what we know she can do, but once she was asked to out, she was gone and clear by the home turn.
I think her performance on the clock probably summed up her Henry de Bromhead's general overall form at the moment. I think that was his only winner of the meeting. Obviously, the previous year he had a good deal more than that. So we know that she's capable of running quick. I think her best times are 78 or something in and around that region, maybe 77. So that was clearly a well below par effort to win that race. And the horses she beat, you wouldn't really see them as champion hurdle horses either. Zanahiyr made a bad mistake at the first. That ruled his chances out. I suppose he's done well to finish second in the end. Echoes and Reigns only rated 143, and the other two are, probably Grade 3 horses at best, aren't they? So it's a performance that was slightly underwhelming, even though there's a lot of hullabaloo surrounding the actual victory and the aftermath afterwards. But actually looking at it brass tacks, it's probably wouldn't scare the camp of the likes of Appreciate It to scare them off completely. I think they probably want to crack at Honeysuckle come the big day. We know how good he is, and of course he'll be fresher than most as well, having not any battles this season. So it'd be interesting to see how they match up on the day themselves. I still think there's a little bit of mileage left in the champion. I don't think this one's quite got the reef around her neck just yet.
No, and I think that in the race last year, she really did quick and smartly, didn't she, for very little pressure, where I felt that even though she's won easily, Rachel was always just kind of like making sure she was going to keep going and keep going and keep going. So, I'd agree, Appreciate It. I think I read something Paul Townend said that he's looking forward to having a crack at Honeysuckle. So on a day when they've lost Sharjah from the champion hurdle picture as well, he's obviously kind of elevated to their number one, lock, stock and barrel. Talking of Willie Mullins, another fantastic novice chaser, Galopin Champ. He wowed us all at Christmas, and he's stepped up on that and wowed us again on the clock on Sunday.
Yeah, performance of the weekend, wasn't it? Performance of the season, arguably, wasn't it? Certainly based on our numbers. Shishkin and Ergumin, an 81 time figure when they fought out that tremendous battle at Ascot. And a novice having his second run over fences manages to run to an 82, which is in line with like Allaho's performance last year in the Ryanair, which is quite spectacular. Just shows how good he is. He could be capable of even more, particularly as they're stepping him up in trip, arguably to the Brown Advisory. distance that he should really get, standing on his head based on his punches stand, win over hurdles next season. He was just brilliant in every department. His jumping was spectacular, a little bit over brave on occasions. Certainly have to learn to sort of tidy his act up a little bit when it comes to Cheltenham, particularly the ditches. He was a little bit too brave there.
Yeah, I think he scared Paul Townend more than he scared himself, though, because he just went at the next fence and did it again, didn't he?
He did. And if he takes off too soon and lands in one of those ditches, then he might not recover. But I think they can work on that at home. But I mean, like I say, the time figure was great, but the sectional compared to Chacan-Poursois was telling us that he was basically running at 2 mile championship speed for 2 mile 5. So that backs up the overall time figure. Spectacular all the way.
Yeah. Definitely. And talking of Chacan-Poursois himself, I actually thought he went through the line really well on Sunday. The race, kind of set up perfectly for him with Dunvegan going out in front, but there was a lot to like about what he did after the last fence. It's just whether he can go and do the same thing up the hill at Cheltenham, which is the half-answered question from last year is no, but Willie Mullins was adamant after that he's now found a different way of training him, and he still thinks he'll mix it with Energumene and Shishkin. So,
yeah, he was very bullish. He was very bullish, wasn't he, Andy? Afterwards, you were dead right.
Yeah.
He's certainly not writing off Chacan-Poursois like many of us probably are. There's 2 bits of evidence as to say that he's not so good over this side of the Irish Sea, as you said. But you're right. These horses offer you peril. We know he's top class on his day. Was it just a blip last year at Cheltenham, or was that him period at the track? We'll only find out in March. But he is up against Shishkin and Energumene. It's not like last year when he was the clear favourite and in a race to lose. It's a much, much deeper renewal. We haven't got, the mayor of Henry de Bromhead's to contend with, and perhaps 1 or 2 that have seen better days, like the Politologues of this world. We're talking like the best we've ever seen for a little while in this category. So he's got to raise his game to another level again.
Yes, yeah. Well, let's hope that the 3 of them do lock horns at Cheltenham, because I think, whichever way the race ends up going, it will be a tremendous battle.
Well, it could be an each-way price now, couldn't it? I mean, his odds on last year, at least if you are thinking of backing Chacan-Poursois, you've got a bit of value left. Yes.
And then moving on to William Mullins' final Grade 1 winner of the weekend, Sir Gerhard. I was really taken with the way that all 3 novices finished their race off yesterday. I really think that they're, the top class novices, probably 3 of the best that we've seen for a couple of years.
Yeah, it's going to make for interesting kind of like mind games in the next month or so, trying to work out which one's going to go where. I'm sure they'll work them all at home again and take them to the track and gallop them and come back and give all the feedback off the jockeys, etc. Which one out of Dysart, Diamond or Sir Gerhard might go up in trip if they are going to split them up is a difficult one, because they've both got really good skill sets. They obviously can go very quickly for 2 miles, and they've both done similar time figures. Yeah, we've looked at Sir Gerhard's time, which is pretty healthy, but his circuit sectionals compared to Honeysuckle come out very favourably. And he beat off a really good field. 3 Stripe Lives considered as a proper Grade 1 horse. Colonel Mustard's mixed it with John Bon. Big distances back to some good horses as well, like Farout and Statue Air, winner of a Grade 1 as well. I mean, just looking at the nuts and bolts of that race, it was probably the strongest race of the season over that trip and for that grade. So,
I was looking to rate the races higher, but the fact the figure was, the adjusted figures were so close to Party Central. I just got the impression, and I actually checked it, that they were going fairly slowly early on compared to the mares.
Yes.
The mares were through the section between the last hurdle and the second on the circuit about 2.5 seconds quicker, and then they've built it a little bit more from there. But as soon as they've got into the back straight, Honeysuckle's race and Sir Gerhard shone through.
Well, I mean, he's always been strong at the back end of his race, and Sir Gerhard. That's how he won his race last year in the bumper. He quickened from the top of the hill, and he just get lengthening all the way to the line. Depends on obviously if they run him in the Supreme, how hard they go early on to sort of like test him from start to finish rather than just from sort of like, a mile or mile and a half out. But he's just very, very good. And he did it on the wrong leg as well. You watch him; he's actually leaning. He's leading on his forehand rather than the off fore, on the near fore. Sorry, and that's why he hung out from the wings a couple of hurdles going down the side. So
do you think that contributed to the slight errors he made down the back straight?
Definitely, he was on the wrong leg. He was meeting those hurdles on the wrong leg. So they need to work on that at home. But the engine's definitely there if they can just sort the steering out. Rather
strangely, it could be his stablemate who Dysart Dynamo who puts the pace to the race and does test him if they both end up going there.
Well, we're in for one hell of a race. I just hope all four run. Dysart Dynamo, John Bond, Sir Gerard and Constitution Hill. What an amazing opener to the meeting. That's going to get everyone's pulses racing, and can't wait for that. I think that is genuine. I mean, we often say, this is a racing meeting, that's a racing meeting, and some of it's just hype, but this is genuinely a stellar Supreme. I can't remember as good as this for many years.
We could be in for a really speedy start to the festival, couldn't we, with the Supreme and the Arkle? The Ultima might look like the cross country by the time they start going round.
Yeah, it's going to be all about pace, isn't it?
Yeah. And just touching back on the mares in the opening race, Party Central really well handicapped. Gordon Elliott actually ducked the Solarina Mares race the week before because he didn't want to spoil a handicap mark for Sunday. But he said after, didn't he, that he was looking now to step her up into black type races.
Well, she's won a listed race and she got away with a very good handicap mark of 121. They bumped up to 135, which obviously is going to make life a little more difficult if they wanted to go down perhaps something like the Martin Pike route. But all roads lead to the mares hurdle by the looks of it now, the novices event. And I'm sure she'll be a player because she's got a really good blend of good cruising speed and stamina. All ground comes alike to her, and she's just a really likeable type. So you'd have to put her in your sort of calculations for whatever race she goes to at the festival. Yeah.
Okay. And anything catch your eye in any of the handicaps on either of the days, Andy?
Yeah, I think that the 410 on the Sunday comes out quite favourably, doesn't it? Time-wise, the race won by Call Me Lyrene, big field, good pace generated throughout. I quite like the way that Autumn Evening went through that race for Jessica Harrington. Finished third in the end, and I thought come out of the race with a good bit of credit. Made a bad mistake at the last, which halted its progress a bit, went in front. I'm not saying it would have definitely beaten the winner, but on another day, on maybe slightly quicker ground, you'd certainly give it a chance of a fighting chance of turning the form around. And of course, Jessica Harrington's had the winner of the county hurdle before with a horse that we sort of followed over a cliff many years ago. Spirit Leader, you got it. So it's a race that Jessie has got a fond memory of. So it wouldn't surprise me if Autumn Evening ended up at the county hurdle at the festival. Yeah.
Okay. I'll throw Black Bow into the mix from the 2 mile 5.
Yeah.
I thought that was definitely a case of let's try and make sure next time we run him over 2 mile he really sees the trip out strongly. It looked as if he travelled too well in the 2 mile 5. He was very keen, but the hood was off as well. So the next time the hood goes back on and he's back over 2 mile, it could be the Grand Annual, it could be one of the other festivals down the line. But I thought that seeing as how strong they went in that race early on before the pace collapsed, he did really well to hold on to his position.
Yeah, no, it was a good spot. Was always travelling well, up to the point where you just say, like I say, he cut out. So yeah, he looks an obvious candidate to drop back in trip.
Yeah, and with Dunvegan running so well as well, he kind of stands his form up a little bit more.
Ties in nicely, doesn't it? Yeah. Agree.
Anything else catch your eye in the UK before we call it a night?
No, not really. There was a couple of nice handicap performances. I thought the Big Galloper was good at Musselburgh on the Sunday. That overall time figure and circuit time was the best on the card. I think he could be an interesting contender should he go down the Pertemps final route because he's qualified for that now. And obviously we played, have a mention for Goshen as well. He clocked a 77 at Sandown. Soft ground, right-handed. He's right up there with the very best, and I imagine all roads will lead now to Wincanton.
Yes, I was just going to say his champion hurdler could be at Wincanton, because I think they've already said they're going to miss Cheltenham, aren't they? So
Yeah, I think that's wise, isn't it? Yeah, probably end up in the Barker Bar again, won't
yeah, yeah. he might not find much room in there though.
No, he probably won't. No, knowing us nowadays, he probably won't find us in there anyway.
No, definitely not. No, we'll be over the road.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So on to Newbury and Warwick this weekend then. So we'll pick those cards up early next week. We'll sort those out on Monday. So thanks very much for listening to this podcast vlog, what we're calling them, and hope you enjoy the content and tune in again next week. Cheers. Thanks, Andy.
Yeah. Thanks, Andy. Best of luck.